Hello, my name's Tamara Cincik. I'm the chair of Friends of Highgate Library, Shepherd's Hill. It's a group that came together very recently actually, but is very energised to try to support all the library users, listening to the voice of the local community who are absolutely almost 100%, I would say, against this idea of this relocation into Jackson's Lane. I think it's very interesting that until I started a petition 3.5 weeks ago, which has now got over 2,000 supporters both online and on paper, we got 800 alone at Fair in the Square last Saturday, that the narrative has started to shift. When we went to the cabinet meeting on Tuesday at Highgate Civic Centre, the leader of the council said that whether the feasibility study made sense or not, actually now Jackson's Lane would get a funding match if the Arts Council offered them the money. That wasn't what was being said 3 weeks ago. So I see that as a win actually for Jackson's Lane, if they could actually find, I would say actually the balls to take that on the chin and decide, you know what, let's leave the local community happy with their local library, a very well used, purpose-built, beautiful sanctuary, and let's really celebrate that and actually really understand that the library users are our customer base, and we can redevelop the Jackson's Lane space now and leave the library be, because that wasn't what was being offered. What was being offered originally was we have to sell the library to fund match the Arts Council funding bid. Well, my counter to that was, it was very interesting that when we went to meet the cabinet at the council meeting, there wasn't a single question asked of us, which, given that we'd travelled, I think it took us like 40 minutes each way to get there, because it's the other side of the borough from here, because this part of Highgate is just into Haringey, it's just out of Barnet and Camden, so it's a corner. Perhaps it's slightly neglected by other powers. I thought it was very interesting they didn't ask any questions, because actually we've got some very exciting ideas of what could be potentially done for a very low cost with the office spaces. So there are already lots of classes that happen in the office spaces upstairs. It originally was a purpose-built library with a flat, an apartment for the original head librarian, and it's very quiet and peaceful, but it's right by the tube, it's got Wi-Fi, it's actually got a kitchen and a toilet up there, and it's got a separate entrance. So you could have start-up or SME hot desking for a very small amount of money relative to what it is to normally get an office in a nice area, but you could then generate money which I would say would almost surpass, because I did some maths on my phone on the calculator, what the 40% shortfall in budget for the whole of the borough is. So if you took that 60% initial budget, you could more than match that with 40% just from that idea. Then you've already got the classes that happen in the evening, such as the Kumon, the French, Italian. There is computer skills classes that happen here. There are free classes. This is the only site in the area where you get classes for children for free that aren't fee paying. As a parent of children, I know that you don't want to have to pay. You can't always afford to pay £3, £5 to get a free class is a vital use. So that alone, I think, is something that I think is at risk when you go into a place where the onus is on fee paying, which it would be in Jackson's Lane, which is a private charity. So the garden here is very peaceful, it's very beautiful. There's a lot of people in this area who've paid, either they've paid a lot of money to move into an area so they're in a smaller space than they would be in other areas, or they're in social housing. There is social housing over the road, there's social housing down the road, and this is their only accessible garden space. They're not going to use the woods. You know, we met an old lady at the first meeting that Jackson's Lane hosted. She's an older lady. She's not going to go and sit in Highgate Woods or Queen's Woods. That's just not going to happen. It's too far, for one. She's going to have to get a bus. She's just not going to do it. This is over the road. She uses this garden. That's for her is vital. With children, you want to go and read there. You know, it's a nice outdoor space. It's safe. You don't have to worry about them. And it's very important that in times when we know that You know, Britain is building the smallest new builds. You know, I think in Europe that we're losing our gardens, we're losing our connection to the earth. So to have a place where you've got a garden, where you can learn, where you can be in peace, I think it's very important. We now know that there are Wood Green A-level students who are taking 2 buses to come here because of the changes that have happened to their local libraries. So for them to take 2 buses shows such a commitment to their learning. These are marginalised generally. They're not on low incomes, otherwise they'd have the space in their nice lush houses. These are not those people, and these are the people that are supported by this local library. There's some other issues around this library if it's sold off, because it's not listed currently nationally by Heritage England. It is locally listed, and we are trying to get it listed, meaning that if it's sold, in all likelihood it could be demolished. Because of what happened at the Magistrates Court up the road, where they set a precedent of a building that's 3 stories higher than the rest of the locality, it sets a precedent for what could happen in the area. There are discussions about what's happening to my right, behind us, over the road and across the way. This whole area could be completely reconstituted with potentially, based on what's happened at the old Magistrates Court, 6-storey buildings. So we're in an area where not everybody's got money, as I've already said. We've got people in social housing, we've got people in multiple occupancy, but there are some people who've paid, who've made it. They have made it in life, and they are paying the top tier price to live in this area, and their return on their housing is at risk because the library and the green and the natural space and the gentility of the area is absolutely at risk. So not only are they threatening the most marginalised, they're actually potentially putting at risk the most exclusive members of our community, who all have access and all benefit from this space.